What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Killmark Collectors. Once again, NetEase had the poor taste to release a big content update while I'm on vacation. So today what I'm going to do is take a quick look at carriers, give you guys a little bit of the 101 view, and hopefully start getting you ready for the big update release that's likely coming out next week or maybe the week after. Now, today I am going to finally be complying with one of the first comments that I ever got on a video, which was more space, less face. So today what I'm going to do is basically voice over most of the gameplay because clearly I'm not in my studio and I just don't have all those beautiful lights to make me look pretty. So with that being said, let's go ahead, undock, and dive into what carriers entail and what you guys can expect going forward.
All right, everyone. So we're here on the Fulmination test server, and as you can see, I've got one of the carriers up here. I do have all of the other ones in the hangar bay as well. Now, if I look at this, the four that I do have are the Chimera, the Nidhogger, the Archon, and the Thanatos. And each of these is pretty similar to the Dreadnoughts, and they all have the same fitting profile here. With instead of 3 high slots, they actually have 0 high slots, but they have 3 fighter base slots, 5 mids, 8 lows, and then 3 rigs for combat and 3 for engineering. Now, they all do get this 400% Entosis link activation time. They are able to fit jump drives, they can fit command bursts, and they have a plus 100% effective range on those command bursts. Now, where things start getting interesting is that they do have the light fighter bonuses. The light fighter turret explosion velocity is something I'm going to talk about in just a minute. And it's a little bit different in that it's not a turret and it's not a missile, right? But we end up with a little bit of both, and you're going to see that when I actually start, kind of figuring out what what some of this gameplay looks like. Now, for the Chimera, we do get that plus 5% turret explosion velocity. The Nidhogger, we get turret damage. And then the Archon ends up with turret optimal range, and the Thanatos with the light turret damage as well. Now, all of these ships do get then some additional items. With the Thanatos, you can see here we've got the light EHP, light fighter EHP. We get speed with the Nidhogger. The Chimera ends up getting extra shield resistances and command burst strength. And then the Archon gets the armor resist and the armor command burst strength. Now, for this demonstration, I'm not really going to go into all the specifics like I did with the Dreadnoughts themselves, but I do want to go ahead and just show you some of the fittings that I'm using, how this breaks down. Now, obviously, this is not meant to be a full fittings guide. We don't have a lot of the skills, so we still can't totally see what these are going to look like. But basically, what I want to do is just focus in on the fighter base slots. And specifically, there's really 2 kinds of fighters that we have here. The first is going to be kind of your normal fighters, and these are going to have a little bit higher explosion velocity and slower speeds than the light fighters, which are really more meant to be kind of anti-frigate and small ship weapons. Now, you can see here, kind of as I mentioned earlier, it's interesting because we have both an optimal range and accuracy fall-off, as well as an explosion velocity and explosion radius. But with that explosion radius and explosion velocity, we obviously are, in theory, going to be using missiles, but with the turrets and the accuracy fall-off and the optimal range, it's kind of a weird mix. I don't know if some EO veterans can help me out here. I couldn't find anything when I did a quick Google search, but hopefully some of you guys know more about what's going on here. The interesting thing, though, is that the flight velocity and the orbital speed, you'll notice that these are pretty slow, all things considered. They're pretty standard with large drones, I think. And even the light fighters are a good bit slower than an interceptor or even a lot of cruisers that you would see. Now, the drone control range, this is basically just the fighter control range. It is 500 kilometers right now. I'm expecting that to go up with some of the skills that you can get. But overall, definitely a lot of range. So if you wanted to use this as a siege, you kind of could. But it is very slow. So then getting out to that 500 kilometers, it's going to take you a while. Now, you do have a couple of mods to help with this, specifically this MK9 Fighter Micro Warp Drive Guide. This can give you a pretty significant boost. Basically, it activates a micro warp drive for the fighters, giving them that 528% boost. You also then do have a damage mod that's pretty similar to normal stuff, or to normal drone damage, I should say. Now, the rest of these are basically just tank mods that I was just using as I was playing around ratting, but those are really kind of the big things that I wanted to talk about with regards to fighters. Now, let's go ahead and jump in, and I want to show you guys a little bit of how the actual gameplay works in a PvP setting. So let's go ahead and do that now. All right, so now we're out in space, and I've got the Nidhogger here set up to fight the most overpowered ship in the game, which of course is an interceptor. Now, for this demonstration, what I have done is gone ahead and just sitting outside of station because I don't really feel like spending 15 minutes warping around. So what we're going to do is, again, set up the interceptor to be about 45 kilometers off and having it orbit around 5,000 meters per second. Now, obviously, with a large ship trying to fight a small one of the biggest issues is your sensor or your scan resolution not being able to actually lock on in a timely fashion. But with carriers, we actually do have a weapon against that, and that is going to be our network sensor mode, I think is what it's called. Now, as I mentioned, the Condor is going to be flying at about 5,000 meters per second, and so it's going to be zipping around here pretty good, and the fighters themselves are not going to actually be able to catch this thing. So if I go ahead and deploy these dragonflies to try to go catch up with them, you can see that they're not going to get anywhere close here. But what's interesting and actually really cool is if we go ahead and observe these things, they look awesome. But as they start shooting, you'll kind of see here that they're applying damage instantly, or they're trying to, which again is really the hallmark of a lot of these turrets, not a missile. So it's, again, just kind of an interesting way that this is going to be working out. Now, again, as we talk about that fighter's speed and not being able to catch up with them, if I activate this micro warp drive guide, you can see these things absolutely take off. And if we look at the speed, they are over 5,000 meters per second. So they can, in theory, catch up with this. And you can see that they're starting to apply a little bit of damage. Of course, the problem is they're still using that high explosion radius and slow explosion velocity. And so even if they are catching up, they're really not applying much damage to this Condor, which, again, interesting because it's a mix of missiles and turrets. Now, obviously, with smaller fighters, you can have a little bit more success here, especially you'll really kind of tear through these things. But for the purpose of this demonstration, we'll get to that in a minute, I guess. Now, in terms of the actual fighters themselves, they are like drones in that they can be shot down. So here you can see I've got the Condor, and it's actually going to start engaging with the fighters themselves. And in the lower right-hand corner where those fighters are, you can actually see these health bars that are going to go down as the fighters are dying. So with the missiles, you can see here we've got the fighters that are coming in. They're getting hit. This one is now down out of shields and into armor. And we've already gotten one destroyed. And you can see here a second one just went down as well. So we now only have 7 fighters in this group. Now, again, these are probably going to be pretty expensive. I would imagine, especially at the beginning, each of these fighters is probably going to be 70, 80 million, something like that. I'm not sure. But either way, that's going to be a pretty expensive price tag. So if you see that you're starting to lose fighters and we want to be able to pull those back, you are able to do that in the exact same way that you can with the current drone system. In the same way that you're wanting to pull your drones back if they start getting shot, we can do this with the fighters as well. Now, we do have a couple of different options here, and so if we click and drag, we can just do the straight return, or we can use this reload option. And the reload is actually really nice because if you select that, those fighters will come back to the carrier, and they will actually automatically refill or reload as long as you have extra fighters in the bay. If you remember when I was doing this at first, or when I was doing in the fitting guide, I had around 25 or 30 of these drones. And so the minute that these things dock back up, you can see here that they're automatically getting back in, and we're getting back up to a full flight of 9 fighters. So that's really kind of the interesting part about these, and the biggest change. I really hope that NetEase will introduce these same health bars for normal drones. It is a pain to have to look and try to see how your drones are dying, especially in larger fights, with those just tiny bars down at the bottom. So I think that it's really going to be kind of nice to be able to see some of this. Now, I did also mention the small fighters, and so we're going to send those out here as well. And I'm going to speed up the footage a little bit so that you guys can actually see where we're getting. And you guys can see that with that micro warp drive, those things zip on out there. And then pretty much as soon as we start getting in range, these things are really starting to hit much harder than the bigger drones. Again, that's going to be because of the smaller explosion radius and higher explosion velocity. Finally, something to counter interceptors. All you need is a 30 billion-ish carrier. Who knew? With all that being said, guys, that's it for today. I hope you guys enjoyed. I hope this helps. Let me know down in the comments below what else you would like to see with these carriers. But hopefully we'll all have some more hands-on testing soon beyond just the virtual test. So with that, everybody have a great rest of your weekend or whatever is left of it by the time I get this video up. And remember, kill marks last forever. Fly safe, y'all.